Well, hey, it's Stephen Rothberg. I am the founder and chief visionary officer of College Recruiter job search site. We believe that every student and recent graduate deserves a great career. We kind of sit at the intersection of early career hiring and high volume hiring, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today. So, my guest is JP Franz from Emi Labs. We have a little bit of a Minnesota connection, but I promise we're not going to get into long discussions about the massive number of wins of the Vikings in the Super Bowl because there haven't been any. So that's the end of that conversation. So JP, for the viewers who might not know that much about you personally, maybe tell them a little bit about your background, and then we can get into kind of the unique space that Emi Labs is in.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on, Stephen. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat. And so I started my career in an HR tech capacity at LinkedIn, where I spent just over 6 years working first in sales and then moving over to the marketing side on our product marketing team, working kind of all across the gamut with our talent solutions. At the time, so launched an ATS through LinkedIn.
Oh, you're part of that team. Okay.
Yes, it was a fun time, let's say. Then worked also with our integration, so the products that LinkedIn had that integrated directly with ATSs and other core HR tech software. And then the last stint I did was on the jobs team, so working on the jobs and kind of a pricing and packaging deal there.
Okay.
And then,
but we like you anyway.
Yes,
yes,
yes, exactly. And then did a bit of a switch up and came over to the startup world, where I am now at Emi Labs. I joined just over 6 months ago. Really been enjoying it so far. I'm sure we'll dive deeper into Emi and frontline and hiring in a high volume capacity, but at a high level. What we do here at Emi is we really help HR teams go into the next generation of recruitment for their high volume and hourly roles. So what that means is bringing a lot of automation to processes that in the past have been very mundane and time consuming for recruiters. So think anything from interview scheduling to offer extensions, to just basic communication around making sure that the candidate feels supported throughout the process. And on the candidate end, we create a completely text-based application process. So being able to just complete a flow of an application on demand from start to finish, all through SMS, WhatsApp, or Facebook Messenger. So really excited to be here and to chat more.
Cool. And so, the frontline workers that you're talking about, and in the green room, as they say, I don't know who they is, but just before we jumped on live, you were telling me that the frontline workers that Emi helps to support the hiring of, that they tend to be manufacturing, retail, food service, hospitality, more so than, like, say, healthcare, nurses, etc. Right? So the texting to go through the whole application process, that's table stakes, right? I can't imagine, if you're going to hire manufacturing workers, for example, at scale, that you cannot offer that. If you don't have that, I don't know how you can make that work.
Yeah, exactly. I think that texting, even within that, it can take so many different forms. There's text to hire links, so that will still bounce the candidate to an external website, whether it's a career page or a job page. And so table stakes, I agree, getting it off of a web page that's not designed to be mobile friendly, that requires all these different logins, that, might stall out if a candidate gets frustrated or has to go through multiple processes, really shoots a lot of HR teams in the foot, because you have a captive applicant right now and you're losing them because you're sending them all over the web. Our goal is to really reduce that drop off through creating a very intuitive process with our chatbot named Emi, and reducing that time to hire as a whole.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you just used the word drop off, because that was going to be my next question to you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love about the Emi product and others that are somewhat similar to it is that it, when used properly, it should massively increase the number of well-qualified candidates that come through dollar for dollar. I think there's this misnomer, and I wonder, JP, if you feel the same way as I do, that some employers feel that unless we make the process unpleasant, that the best can't. Now, let me say this a better way.
Yeah.
We make the process unpleasant. The only people who will apply are people who really want the job, and those are going to be the best candidates. I think it's more that the people who are the most desperate are going to apply. Some of them are well qualified, and some of them are incredibly poorly qualified.
Totally.
Okay. And so you see the same sort of thing?
Completely agree. I think that we hear that sometimes from customers and prospective customers around adding friction to the process to kind of weed out people, whether it be people that don't care enough or people that care too much. But it's counterintuitive, because you want a frictionless process so that you can have a wide pool to choose from. And I think that's also where automation can help refine that pool. So we don't use actually any AI, particularly when it comes to the actual screening of the candidates, because there's a lot of potential ethical bias-based implications of that. Rather, we take a rules-based approach. So you're able to kind of put in some high-level heuristic information around years of experience or expected salary, stuff like that, where the candidate will still go through that full application process, which creates a good employer brand for you to be able to have an employee-centric application process. But then once you're in the system, having that automation then funnel it down to say, okay, here are the 10% that are going to really be those 5-star candidates. So I think, people who try to take the approach of let's make it harder to get down to that 10% just based on arbitrary things around the application process, you're losing out on potential talent down the road too. Being able to have that candidate-centric experience, I think is just so important from the start.
Welcome to the Hire Her podcast, where women in talent call all the shots. We know, another recruiting podcast, just what the industry needs. Okay, but hear us out. You ever spend hours sourcing that perfect candidate, but they end up ghosting you harder than your hinge date? Or finally, you get that hiring manager feedback, only for them to, of course, say, can we see more candidates? Lame, right? But let's talk about what's really lame in the industry. How is it that 65% of recruiters are brilliant women, yet most of the decision makers look like a convention for middle-aged dudes named Brad?
That's where we come in. Hire Her isn't just another podcast about hiring trends you already heard like 50 times this week. We're here to elevate women in talent, share their career journeys, and make sure they take the lead. Because let's face it, if recruiting is the backbone of every company, why are we still fighting for a seat at the table? So whether you're a recruiter, a talent leader, or just someone trying to swim through the sausage fest of TA leadership, we got you, girl. Welcome to Hire Her, the recruiting podcast where women's voices aren't just heard, but they're leading the conversation.
So subscribe now, because middle management Brad sure as hell isn't going to do it for you.
To eliminate a production line worker with 12 years of experience building the same products as you're building because they have a spelling mistake on their resume, not the best recruitment strategy. How does Emi Labs interface with recruitment advertising products, whether it's a job board or a CRM or billboards on the street? Do candidates go to the career site and that's where they encounter Emi, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we kind of have two approaches. One is integrate, and one is offering new channels. I think any HR tech company needs to be able to integrate well. Integrating means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so core integrations with applicant tracking systems, with job boards like Indeed, are really where we've leaned in heavily to be able to provide a very seamless experience, because we don't want to take people out of their existing core tooling. We just want to make it a better tool for them. And then other unique opportunities that we provide are text to apply links, text to apply numbers, QR codes, for physical advertising. If you're putting it on a billboard, if you're a fast food restaurant and you have something in your storefront, to be able to capture that instead of saying, well, yeah, go ahead and apply to this link that's on a handout and that the candidate has to then type through. And even with a QR code, it's bouncing them to a job board, and then they're going through that process that we talked about with a lot of logins and with a lot of different questions and steps. So our approach is we want to exist in the current strategies that you're doing and that you're investing dollars in, but we also want to give you options for new channels to be getting to candidates. But at the end of the day, we want to funnel all of those candidates into our text conversation so that once they're applying, they can also continue along in that process through interview scheduling, interview reminding, offer letter extending. All of that can run through SMS, text, Facebook Messenger, or WhatsApp.
And the chat bots that I'm familiar with, and I think that Emi is going to be like this too, is they tend to be complementary to the ATS. Right? I see Paradox, for example, kind of extending their product to become also like for an ATS for high volume. Do you have clients that are doing that with Emi? Is that something that's on your roadmap?
Yeah, so it's a good question because that was a recent move that Paradox made, and Paradox is a very similar offering and addresses a lot of similar pain points that we do. And they recently did that kind of branding shift to now call themselves an ATS. And ATS is a very loaded word, I think, in the HR community. A lot of people love to hate their ATS. And so the approach that we have is not to become an ATS. We play nice with the ATSs. I think we would like to think that we enhance the ATS experience. But what we're doing is we're optimizing the channel in which hopefully customers care the most about, which is gathering that application and starting there with the automation and then moving forward to that whole hiring process. Whereas I think a lot of the core value that an ATS brings is organizing information and data, making sure that you have it in a compliant fashion, so that you can then move that along to an HRIS system, payroll, whatever it may be. Whereas, we're really focused on that core application, time to hire, time to fill, and then also starting to branch into retention, which we're seeing is a huge area of opportunity from a technological standpoint, especially in the frontline community.
Okay, so we're running short of time, but I can't leave that unanswered. So grab a minute.
Yeah,
tell me about the retention piece, because that's highly unusual. A lot of your competitors, it's kind of up to the point of not even hire, of application, and then they're done. There's nothing wrong with that in my mind. If you can solve that problem and make that application process friendlier, convert a higher number of candidates, it reduces your recruitment costs, speeds up your time to application, time to hire, all those good things. But then it stops. What are you doing after that?
It's a great question. I think oftentimes HR technology especially wants to be all in one, but end up being a master of none. And we really have been taking the approach of being that go-to for frontline recruitment from application to hire. And we've been hearing so much from our customers that, that post-hire journey is just as important, if not more, because if they churn in those first 30, 60, 90 days, we're right back to the first place. And we spent a lot of money to get them to this hiring place, whether it's through background checks, software, whatever it may be. And so the approach that we've taken so far is first around more of that automation when it comes to reminding. So reminding them about onboarding, sending them over material that they need to review ahead of time, so that they can be successful in the first week of onboarding. But then also pulse surveys, which, we're not reinventing the wheel. Pulse surveys have been around for years and years. But what we're trying to do is delivering it similar to the application experience in a place where it hasn't been delivered, which is via text on their phone. So what we offer also is an opportunity to send out pulse surveys 30, 60, 90 days into that employee's first 90 days, that checks in, quick questions, all again done via text, shouldn't take more than 2 minutes to get that feedback real time. And that 90-day window is really where we've seen the most turnover with customers that aren't implementing any type of touch base. So I would say it's a newer foyer for us. There are definitely companies out there doing a lot more with the retention stuff, but it's an area that's really important to our customers. And so we're investing a lot of time and energy into that as well.
Very cool. Well, that's what a product guy's all about.
Yeah.
Well, JP, thank you so much. People want to get a hold of you. LinkedIn, the best place to
Yeah,
go?
feel free. I don't know where on LinkedIn my name would be featured, but feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Also check out our LinkedIn page on Emi Labs. Oh, wow. There you go. Nice and handy.
There you go.
But yeah, always happy to connect, to chat, high volume hiring, Emi, anything. Feel free to drop me a line.
Awesome. Cheers, man.
Thank you.